My name is Rachel. I'm here in headquarters in safety and compliance.
Hi.
And I've talked to several folks just all over, and we have a lot of colleagues who don't fully understand the reasons behind the max groundings. So needless to say, of course, the flying public probably don't have a good understanding of it either. So I'd like to hear some about our hopefully proactive plans to get out ahead of the lack of confidence in the flying public.
Right.
And our group has some ideas if you need any.
Okay, thank you very much. I'll try, and then if David or Robert, you must want to chime in. But let me tell you this. First, thanks for the question. We know it's an issue. And indeed, it's an issue for a lot of people around the country with this issue. Polled today, which a lot of companies are doing, including ours, asking people, how do you feel about the MAX? The results are not good. There's very high awareness of the issue, and there's real trepidation about whether they would fly it today or not. So that's clearly a concern. What to do about it is, a question again that I know you're asking. I'll offer just this: one, all of those polls are being taken today. By the time it actually flies, a lot more will happen, which I believe will make an enormous difference in that customer sentiment. First off, the airplanes will be, whenever this happens, I don't know, the problem is we don't know exactly when, but let's assume that the June 30 date that Boeing is now saying, or I'm sorry, they say mid-year, so let's call mid-year June 30. Let's say June 30, Boeing has the aircraft ready certified to fly. We still need to train our pilots, so we can't put it into scheduled service, of course, without trained pilots. That training now we're being told is going to require a full motion simulator. So it'll take us a couple of months at least to get enough pilots trained to be able to fly, putting in service. But the aircraft's now certified to fly by the FAA, so that's the one big thing that's already happened, with much awareness. That'll be a very big deal when the FAA has decided, after this incredible scrutiny, that this aircraft is as safe as, probably the safest airline in the world to fly because of all scrutiny's gone under. So them to make that decision will be one big event that happens. Then there'll be a couple of months before we can return it to customer service flying, that we'll have some number of pilots trained that are qualified to fly, just not enough to put it in service yet. We will look to use that to yet to be determined, but certainly a number of things we can do. I mean, certainly, I'll fly around and try and get my kids to go or whatever. But those things are those things and media and things like that to make sure that people see that it is flying, people are flying it. That'll make a big difference. But the real thing that's going to make a difference is by those things have happened. But the real important thing is American Airlines pilots get in the cockpit and say, I am comfortable flying this aircraft. That's what matters. So anyway, the shorter way I can say this, of all the polling we've done, yes, when asked today, how do you feel? Trepidation. When asked this follow-on question, pick from this menu of items, what would make the most difference to you being comfortable flying, including, media flying around or me flying around, those types of things. Those things pale to two things. One, the FAA saying that it's certain that it's safe to fly, and U.S. pilots in the United States being willing to fly it, and particularly, I would argue, American Airlines pilots, who are the best in the business, and people know that. So those things, that's what's going to make the difference. No amount of rebranding or marketing. And the last thing we want to do, by the way, is do anything to suggest that anybody should be have any trepidation about it. So anything like, I don't know, not that we've ever thought about this, but I've seen suggestions, you're going to need to, give lower fares. That makes no sense. That's the exact opposite message that needs to be sent. Because this aircraft, we stand behind. And the FAA stands behind it, and more importantly, the pilot that's flying that, who is the best pilots in the world, who don't take airplanes up until they know everything about them and are comfortable doing it. That's what's going to matter. So I know it's a long answer to your question, but we'll try and do what we can. And even after all that, some people still may not be ready to fly for some period of time. I suspect it'll be short. If they're not prepared to fly it, we will do our best to reaccommodate them. But we're not, again, that airplane, we're not going to it's not our issue with the airplane. The airplane is safe and sound. If someone doesn't want to choose it, really says, I'm just not comfortable, we'll do what we do in those cases and say, we'll try and find another flight for you later. But that's what we'll work to do. But anyway, the airplane's going to be so well, by that time, I think it's going to be less of an issue, and certainly over time it'll go away as it being fine.